Hello! It's me, Mina. A little late because of, not gacha game reasons. Hi, Domini! Welcome back. I'm sorry that you can't get into your old account. You are, of course, welcome. Just gonna play your...
What happened?
Nun-dun-dun! Thank you for following again! That's a good question. What happened to your account? We are doing quite well. Except for crying over it. Leave me alone!
Halloween.
Except for Halloween situations and gacha games making me cry.
You know, we're just Europeans trying to pretend we are not at home, so nobody...
Yeah, like, actually there's this, you know that door I have between my entrance and my room?
I know.
I kinda, like, pushed it almost closed. So that in case I walk to the kitchen, they won't see me.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, I do not fuck with that. And the thing that's annoying is my doorbell is so unfathomably loud.
Also,
like it gives me a start.
The size and audio of your room is like really like...
Yeah, that too. So
not making you flavors.
Nope. Okay, well, we found this workshop. Shayna, well done for finding this place. And it's such little time. You really worked miracles.
Miraculous.
It's Toby here, who's the miracle worker. What?
Oh wow.
Is he okay?
No, it's probably a sour chip. It's probably a sour chip, I'm telling you. I thought you lot would show up before long.
Hello, Inspector. That's one knitted brow. It's a little more than... Yeah, it's a little more than knitted. Like... I feel like knitted is a very generous description of what we're seeing here. Sorry.
Like, you can probably break some planks with that knit.
Yeah, I was thinking about why I was in pain, right? And it turns out it's because the pillow I was using had fallen down to my side and I was sitting completely screwed over.
You silly nugget.
Oh, I'm a silly nugget. Looks like he's eating a lemon, not a pack of fish and chips. So, Inspector, is there any sign of the engineer?
Sadly not. We didn't find a soul in here.
Oh, we'll find him.
Oh, you're a medium?
Oh, what a shame. Yes. Have you checked the wardrobe?
What wardrobe?
Well, thank you for letting us know about this place and giving us a chance to investigate.
You mean this garderoba? According to what Gina tells me, we only found it thanks to a clue that you lot turned up. Good freaking job. Woohoo. Wow. Yay. I was gonna say, go to Paris with the debt of gratitude. Unpaid now, would I? Would I?
Thank you.
Should I? Anyway, if you're hoping to snoop around in here, I'd get cracking. Lord Van Zinks and the forensic investigation team are on their way here as we speak. They're skedaddling right now. Why, this is so far.
Them again.
I imagine you've got the picture by now. They don't take too kindly to lawyer types.
Right.
So then, my dear fellow, let's turn this place upside down while we have the chance. Oh boy. And you, Sholmes. Pardon? I take even less kindly of a great detective than they do lawyers. Very droll, Gregson, very droll. But you may consider me nothing more than an inconspicuous waxwork model.
Right then, let's see what we can find in here. Well, this definitely interests me.
Ah, this appears to be most interesting, yes. Most interesting indeed, wouldn't you say?
It's an impressive looking back massager, that's for sure. Oh my god.
I've
no doubt that you hit your shoulders a few times with that. Your aches and pains would soon go away. No, we're not gonna play a horror game. I sort of like... I have to take the day off of these streams in a weekend soon, so I just thought that we keep playing, so... No, no spookies.
And
It's
the only
okay.
spookies are the people that knock on your door.
Yeah, we're in the spooky section of this game, so let's go with that. Yeah. Well, no, that'll be in like November at that point. That's a little late for spooky games. So...
It's a Royal Society trophy for excellence in science. A young scientist would wish no higher honor.
Ah.
What do you mean, ah? Would you like a massage?
No, no! No, I'm fine, thank you. I had no idea it was such a grand thing. I think it's becoming increasingly clear.
Give me the foot.
But there's much more to this Mr. ENVtuber than conjuring tricks.
Ah, yes. I couldn't agree more, my dear madam. And how about you, Mr. Naruhodo? Wouldn't you like to take it with you?
I can't play console games in my house. Like I can't do that on stream because the distance between my PS4 and my computer is too large. I wouldn't be able to work it out. So.
For your tired shoulders, of course.
Not at the moment, sorry. Ah! Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, yes I have. I have a PS4. He's not gonna let that go, is he? I mean, I also have a Switch Lite, but...
It's quite heavy.
And a PS Vita. Yeah, I know I can, but the way the setup goes right now, it wouldn't be able to work. Because I would still have to look at my, like, the screen that has my PS4, and it's
What are you talking about? Aren't you playing Judgment? Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. I don't have a capture card at the moment, so...
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, so that's the life I'm at right now. It's curious though, isn't it?
Maybe in some future.
You would expect such an important trophy to be proudly on display somewhere, not haphazardly cast aside. English gentlemen can be quite a mystery at times. Cool trophy.
Oh.
What on earth is this? An aeroplane, Mr. Naruhodo. One day, scientists believe it will allow humans to fly freely in the skies. Is that how the trick will be described, is it? Sorry?
Me?
Well, it's actually suspended by a thin, very strong cable, isn't it? Oh, well... This model is yes, but a real aeroplane would actually fly high in the sky. Well, suspended from somewhere even higher in the sky, of course. Oh my god. You, please! Because large metal objects obviously can't really stay in mid-air unsupported. I mean, he's somewhat right. Like, yes, they couldn't stay unsupported, but if you had a booming enough engine, right?
Yeah.
So, to you, the solution is ever taller
Two.
towers? Okay, what else can we investigate?
Rexham, just be careful with your neck, okay?
This is... It's a European-style quiver of arrows, with steel bolts inside. Oh, do you suppose?
Crossbones, these. And just the right size for the bow you'd lot turn up at the exhibition grounds.
In other words...
Yep, that's more evidence to support your theory. It all goes to show that Drebber was the one pulling the strings behind the scene of the whole scan.
There do be.
Or not to be.
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. The machine is covered by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. No, it's not! There would be serious repercussions if you were to examine it from the Crown and the government. They don't care. Well, those two don't seem to be holding back.
It's quite hollow inside. No working parts or devices of deception to be seen, my dear fellow.
No loose change, job on the floor, nothing. Not even a bone for Toby here, my dear fella.
Oh my god.
British people are very much ruled by their own ideals, aren't they?
No, it's very impressionable.
I think that's just these two, Mr. Sato. What else can we examine? There's the door. Is there anything else on the door?
The door?
The door.
Door.
The store doesn't want to open.
Yes.
No, sorry, I was just like, you know the
I was
feeling
just
when
like
you were
wondering
just
if you wanted to.
processing. What? No, I was just you know when you're processing and your brain is like, you know? When it's like, you know?
Good.
Yeah, I'll say it's got a pretty hefty lock on it.
There's a special locksmith on this way over from the yard, so heads up this till he gets here. With permission, Inspector. You couldn't have the lock open in less than a minute. Well, you don't have permission. And no one's giving it to you. At the smug face.
and his sad face.
Smug Gregson.
Gregson looked as though he's really enjoyed that.
Yep.
Well, there's no sound of anybody on the other side. But no, Trevor must have fled in the first sign of danger. Oh, I bet he's still there, because this is an Ace Attorney game.
What do you mean?
Because this is an Ace Attorney game.
Yeah.
That is my
It's a
argument.
detective game.
Yep.
Yes?
Oh! Something wrong, Mrs. Sato? Well, I thought I heard a noise from the far side of that door. Well, Gina? Did you hear it too? Yeah, I heard it and all. What you reckon, Toby? Woof woof.
Right, man, degrees. Whoever in there, open up. This is Scotland Yard.
Oh my! Someone is in there. Oh wow, you realized now. I see.
Yes.
Clonky, clonky, clonky,
Probably a
clonky,
dog.
clonk.
Ah, it's rotten bleeding luck. My dear Gregson, as I said only minutes ago, if only it were contents.
Countenance, I think.
Countenance. I could unlock that door in less than a minute. Fine, I take the rap for it. Just get us through the last door. Doing good.
Yeah.
There, you may enter at will.
You've confused minutes with seconds, I think. Hoo-ha!
Timing of the essence, I feel. What are you waiting for? Nothing for it, I suppose. It's an emergency. There's a strong possibility that beyond that door is the engineer you all seek. Be prepared for action, my dear fellow.
Hoo-ha! Yes!
Ye gods.
Is that a bomb?
Shell.
What's happening here? Why is everything upside down?
Upside doodle.
Rats! Ain't no one in here after all. But there must be. But there must be. It was only moments ago that we heard those noises. Maybe that was the sound of Trevor running away. But there's only one door into this room.
Hmm. And no windows that could afford an escape route. Those skylights are too high.
What's that up there? Shoe prints? Are they footprints on the ceiling?
Blow me! What have we here then? Looked like someone was trying to burn something in a hurry.
Oh, that looks like a set of blueprints. To what?
Indeed. That's Professor Harbur's barming machine, is it? Blimey, if you had this, you could have no need to mug about trying to investigate all that scrap metal. There is something of a great interest here too. This rope was lying on the floor, at the foot of that pillar.
A rope? What's significant about that?
Oh my god. Never mind.
Don't you never mind me.
You see, but you do not observe, Mr. Naruhodo.
He's right.
You need to observe and deduce, not look and say.
We must investigate the entire room thoroughly. And before the forensic investigation team arrive, too.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta. Seems to be enjoying himself.
It's a fancy clock.
It's a very large safe. I suppose even Mr. Sholmes could open that lock. Although, if you were a thief, you could just steal the entire thing, I suppose. No! I doubt it. Expose it to the floor to prevent exactly that sort of underhand trick, Mr. Naruhodo. Well then, you could just steal the floor as well, I suppose!
Yep.
God damn it. I'm sorry, but you really aren't making any sense at all. Anyway, I think we can agree that whatever is inside must be very important. Almost every piece of furniture is upside down. Even Mr. Sholmes' suite isn't ever this much of a mess. You're in no position to comment on mess, Mr. Naruhodo. But I suppose it's not quite the same thing, is it? He got burned. I mean, it's not messy up in here per se, it's that everything is literally upside down. But why? It's a balloon! That's a really lovely model. It looks just like a real flying balloon. It's a balloon.
A balloon!
I think it's probably staying aloft in the same principle as a full-size balloon, using gas. A green flying balloon. It does have the hallmarks of that amazing deception of the great expression, doesn't it? Could it be that the whole thing was planned here in this very workshop? No.
That must be a coincidence. Or was it?
I can finally hear you out. Mr. Sholmes? Have you found something?
Ah, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, in point of fact, something rather fascinating. What do you make of this?
Let's see. Never seen anything like it before. It looks like a bundle of fixed cigars wrapped up. Ah! Ah! Mr. Sato, what's the matter? That's a... Surely that's a time bomb, isn't it?
What did you say?
A time bomb? Sorry, but... What is a time bomb exactly? What's that?
Eh? You truly you are one of a kind, Mr. Naruhodo.
I will take that as a compliment. Gee,
Please do.
you're so nice to me.
As always.
Wow. Ha! You don't know nothing, do you, Otto?
Do you know?
That's rich of you to say. You haven't got a clue what it is either, Gina, have you?
I invite you to consult a dictionary later, Mr. Naruhodo. But this particular specimen is no time bomb, though I confess it has a very similar appearance.
Oh, well, thank goodness, but then what is it? Sure. Fucking sure, Mr. Sholmes.
I see, so that's it.
Goodness. Mr. Sholmes, have you seen to the heart of the matter?
There are times when I consider my lot most unfair. When I am fated never to know how it feels to flounder as you do when the puzzle presents itself. Wow,
he really
what an
knows
elaborate way to say,
that I suck.
I wish I could be dumb.
I wish I could be dumb, like you, Mr. Naruhodo.
But I have learned to accept the hardship that come with being a great detective, Miss Susato. What a freaking...
Here we go.
Martyr.
I feel a great deduction coming. A great headache coming.
Once again, I can draw two conclusions from the scene we see before us. The first is that the inverted nature of the furniture in this room is the work of the driver himself.
But how could you?
And the second conclusion is that the small device on the floor there is without a question a completely genuine.
Please, Mr. Sholmes, you must explain everything.
No. It would be a pleasure. After all, it is a great detective's civic duty to teach Scotland Yard's the finer points of the trade.
Why is he doing that
Sour
face?
chip! It was a sour chip again.
You just see Gina with like lemon juice in her hand, just like hiding it in her pocket.
Sour chip.
I've been messing with him all day. He still hasn't noticed. Well, Inspector Gregson seems delighted with the idea anyway.
No.
Oh, you deflected the inspector's glare with a such fortitude there, Mr. Sholmes. Well done. Sure.
Yeah, whatever.
Fortitude, that's what you call that.
Oh. You're too kind, my dear madam. I hereby dedicate this great deduction to you.
Oh, God.
Kindly stand just there, Miss Susato.
Oh, yes! I'd be delighted.
So, shall we begin? Once again, Headlock Sholmes is proud to present his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular.
Why the fuck not? Okay.
It's plain to see that this room is completely in complete disarray.
I love how she's just like excited.
The bed, the table, and chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down.
Because there's like not a like culprit to be exposed here at the moment. They're just using Susie. I find that highly amusing.
Reactions.
Yep.
Almost as every item in the room had, until recently, been happily positioned on the ceiling. Before falling straight down onto the floor.
Every item in the room was on the ceiling. Are you suggesting that?
Indeed, the key here.
I love this one so much!
Gravity.
I love this dumb... It's so...
It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of Earth. The gravity in this room was reversed and then suddenly restored to normality.
Goodness!
The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business.
So that's not what happened. Got it.
You cannot just say that. I quite understand your skepticism, Miss Susato. I, too, was incredulous at first. However, my conviction in my analysis was cemented when I observed this. An anti-gravity device almost identical to the one that featured in a dream of mine only the other day, in fact.
Uh-huh.
Are you sure you want to trust this guy?
But why? But then why does it have a clock on it?
A most relevant question indeed. This is a timing device that controls when the gravity direction will switch.
Sure.
There was clearly a requirement for the engineer to be able to restore normal gravity automatically. And the commotion we heard earlier from the other side of the door was the moment that restoration occurred. I don't know about that. Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device.
That's all I have to say to that.
So you see, we need not look no further to explain the state in which we now find this room. Not at all. The direction in which gravity acts in here was reversed by Mr. Drebber, before being restored to normality in an automatic fashion sometime later by the timer device. I have witnessed precisely the scene in a dream I once had when I fell out of bed.
Great reason.
Because gravity was reversed. I just want to say, Sholmes case ago. No, this device is impossible. You cannot just eat someone.
That wasn't even a case ago. That was this case, Argo.
I know!
It wasn't even last case
ago. But it was a case ago for him. That's the problem. Now, let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim? ridiculous. Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his action is above our heads.
Yes! How's it possible that there are footprints all the way up there in the ceiling?
Magic. A question whose answer will lead us nearly to the truth, my dear madam. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Of course, the Trevor aim was singular to escape. However, there is but one way into this room, except the skylight, that is.
Oh.
By inverting gravity in here, Trevor was able to fall conveniently to the ceiling and make his escape via the otherwise inaccessible skylight, leaving those footprints behind on the way.
I fucking love this so much. It's so dumb. But the ceiling in here is very high, Mr. Jones. If the gravity reversal was sudden, wouldn't Mr. Trevor have fallen up to the ceiling rather violently?
Falling up is both scientifically and philosophically a rather interesting concept, I feel. The man was cornered with nowhere to run, so escape through the skylight was his only option. You may recall that I found this in a room earlier, which I believe offers a solution.
Oh, the rope!
To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope? By anchoring one end to the wall, the man was able to lower himself slightly to the ceiling. Which explains how Trevor was able to escape this room before our arrival. He reversed the pull of gravity and fled via the skylight. And personally, I should very much like to reverse the pull of gravity again now, just for fun.
No.
No. Escape via the skylight. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle.
I'm getting a headache from this guy. Yeah, same.
And Gregson getting smashed potatoes.
No.
That's what I
Just completely spellbound. No! Susie? No.
Only one?
Mr. Sholmes, there's just one. Yeah, only one. There's just one thing that troubles me.
Ah. I would expect nothing less. You're destined to be troubled by just one thing for the rest of your life.
The thing is such a thing actually possible? An anti-gravity device, I mean.
Not with that attitude. I would say that with man's current scientific knowledge at the turn of the 20th century. It's no more possible than instantaneous kinesis.
Okay, so you admit you were full of shit. But your whole deduction hinges on it!
Ah, but my dear fellow. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. However improbable it might seem. I think the anti-gravity device is the one thing you throw into the freaking impossible can.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
not the one that's left.
Would anti-gravity not be part of, you know, the impossible?
Impossible, yeah.
Like, category,
and
no?
not improbable.
I swear to God, I'm gonna get fucking... I'm gonna die.
With the shoe?
I'm just gonna die this time.
With the shoe? It's marvelous line, would you agree? One of my more enduring pearls of wisdom. I had Iris come up with the exact phrasing. My original was clumsy.
Yes, I have a feeling I've read it in something that Miss Subtle lent me once. Objection! Actually, there is one other thing, Mr. Sholmes.
One other?
Oh, the spell's broken at last! The rope you found was on the floor, wasn't it?
Indeed it was, in a lonely course near the wall.
But if Mr. Trapper had used it to escape in the way you described, wouldn't it still be tied to the wall? Can't argue with that logic.
Mysteries inevitably unravel in the end, as I think you will find.
Arson. Look, I think today it's not gonna be arson, it's gonna be fucking explosion. Explosion.
Ingashi explosion! Yeah!
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
And as evidence of such, you need only to look at the mystery you face in this room, now skillfully unraveled.
That argument is as circular as the coils of rope. I think perhaps we might need to give Mr. Sholmes the usual little helping hand. I'm sure with some minor corrections, the great detective's great deduction will lead us to the truth.
Minor.
Yes, you're right. We must do it quickly before Enoch Grubber gets too far away.
If you're ready, then let us resume. Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular.
Here we go, I guess. Here we go, I guess. Hold it!
Oh, there, here we go again. It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. The bed, the table and chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down. Topsy-doodly. Almost as if every item in this room had, until recently, been happily positioned on the ceiling, before falling straight down onto the floor.
Every item in the room was on the ceiling. Are you suggesting that...
Indeed, the key here is gravity. It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of the Earth. For the gravity in this room was reversed and then suddenly restored to normality. The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played on this whole business.
To think gravity could have been reversed in this very room! I find the whole idea utterly enthralling. Only Mr. Sholmes could conceive of such an explanation. But the man himself admitted it was a scientific impossibility, so... Yes, you're quite right. We must completely discount the idea at once. Ooh, that's unusually merciless of you, Mr. Subtle. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. The great detective himself said so, didn't he? While refusing to part with his dreams of anti-gravity devices. Yes, I suppose so. Her dreams of him have very much been destroyed. Well, let's see if just examining this topsy-turvy scene a little more closely reveals some proof that shows exactly what the gravity in this room was or wasn't doing. You could already kind of see it. Like,
Yep.
There it is. This is...
Topsy-turvy.
Well, well! I wasn't expecting to find a pretty bunch of flowers in here, that's for sure. Ah, look at that! I know, that slender little vase looked like it's about to topple any moment, but the flowers are thriving. Somehow it makes you think of the fragility of life, wouldn't you say? Oddly waxing poetic right now, but okay.
Yep. It's another fodder poetry.
To be honest, Mr. Naruhodo, something else about it made a rather deeper impression on me. I'm just gonna present it.
Bonk.
Bonk. gonna ascend it. The upright vase clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity plays in this whole business.
Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, you've surpassed yourself by completely turning my argument on its head with this anti-gravity device.
Yes.
Trying to impress your assistant here, perhaps? Wow.
No one is trying to steal your spotlight here, Mr. Sholmes. Trust me. I'm just trying to live.
As you rightly say, but it appears at first glance that all furniture in this room is upside down. This unassuming slender vase is standing keenly to attention. And unlike the large safe, there is nothing affixing to the floor.
And it's the exception that breaks the rule.
In short, much that pains me. The gravity in this room was never inverted at all!
Oh, poor thing. My deepest apologies for your loss. Sweating. This is definitely my fault.
Profusely.
Oh, poor Mr. Sholmes.
But the show must go on, so let us continue with our deductions. Now that we know this contrivance is not in fact an anti-gravity device, there remains but one other possibility.
You don't say! You do not say, my dear.
Someone deliberately turned over every piece of furniture in here.
Which might sound obvious, but leaves one mystery very much unsolved. Namely, why would anyone choose to do that? That's fair, that sounds like a lot of work.
Quite, and naturally there is an explanation. Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device.
He's absolutely determined that this device must have something to do with it, isn't he?
Amazing.
I'm afraid the lure of an exciting scientific explanation is too strong. Well, there's no doubt that somebody did this. Somebody turned all this furniture over. So whoever it was must have had a reason. Jesus Christ, why am I so tired today? Yeah, I'm just yawning. Like, I'm not actually tired. I'm just... Yeah?
Trick or treat, Mina.
Hands you a potato chip.
That's not okay. That's actually good.
I'm afraid nothing comes to mind at all, though. Well, let's look around and see if the answer presents itself. Ah.
Ah?
Ah.
Ah?
Ah.
Ah.
Look, there's something written on the other side of this armchair. Oh yes! Safe. 432582. Safe? As in safe and secure? As in secure lockable box, I think. Admittedly more likely. Well, there's a large safe bolted to the floor on the other side of the room, so yes. Do you mean this number would let us open it? I wonder why it's written here, though. Oh my god. I see. I'm seeing where this is going. Oh, I did not mean to click. I hate when I do that.
Didn't mean to click, but you did.
Yes, the reason why everything here has been turned upside down is because of the safe combination. He forgot what chair he wrote it under. I see.
Precisely. I believe, Mr. Naruhodo. That you had a very similar experience once, did you not?
Yes, last year, when I bought a lottery ticket and noted the ticket number down on the inside cover of a book, just in case.
That's it. For people are forgetful souls at heart and always make a written note of important information.
Just keeping the ticket itself safe would be more sensible, I think.
And what, pray, happened next, Mr. Naruhodo?
When the day of the draw came around, I'd forgotten which book I'd written the number in and had to turn my room upside down to find it.
That's it! For people are forgetful souls at heart and always forget when they've noted things down. So you know where you left the notes.
Not if you always note things in the same place. I actually won the second prize, you know. But I couldn't remember which magazine I'd slipped the ticket into, so I had to turn my room upside.
Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo, but I believe I proved my point now. Which is that a very similar scenario has clearly unfolded in this room.
Finding himself requiring access to the safe, the occupant of this room needed the combination code. Just gonna open a window.
Not windows?
No. Maybe the air is stuffy, maybe that's why.
Stuffy air?
Yeah. Maybe that's why I feel a little woozy. I'm just gonna...
Aye.
Finding himself requiring access to the safe, the occupant of this room needed the combination code. He remembered that he'd written it on the underside of a piece of furniture, but forgot which one.
Leaves the state in which we now find the room. Yes, Mr. Driver overturned all the furniture in here. In a desperate hurry to locate the combination code that would unlock the safe.
I guess we unlock the safe now then.
Ta!
Might as well, right?
Might as well.
Unlucky,
Elementsky.
lucky. Okay, time for this bullshit.
Now let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his action is above our heads.
Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there in the ceiling?
A question whose answer will lead us nearly to the truth, my dear madam. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight.
Well, if it changes the direction of gravity can't explain it, then how did these footprints get there? Yes, I feel as though that particular mystery has just become even harder to solve. I can't think of any other way to explain it at all. Ooh! Life is so much simpler in those halcyon days when gravity could be reversed. It was minutes ago. In those halcyon days never existed in the first place! Well, I suppose we must simply put our faith in Mr. Sholmes and observe the area in more detail. Putting our faith in Mr. Sholmes. What gets us into these situations in the first place? He's the source of our problems, Susie. Here. I see something. Ah!
Nice.
Oh. This is a gas balloon, isn't it? It's tiny, but it does seem to be a real balloon. Yes, I think you're right. I think it's helium just keeping it up. A green gas balloon. Why does that seem to ring a bell with me? If you can see, there are footprints on this balloon too. Look! Oh, yes, surely that's a clue, isn't it? But what it tells us, I'm not sure. there's a
Look at this clue.
That's a shoe if I saw one. It's hard to believe, but there's a shoe out there, look!
Eat it!
Eat it! Oh yes, and there are more footprints on this balloon too. Perhaps the shoe was thrown up there and became lodged, do you think? If so, judging from the number of footprints, it must have been thrown up several times. Or would anyone be throwing shoes up at the ceiling, though? Definitely to trick Herlug into declaring
Obscurity.
anti-gravity. Oh dear, that's beyond me, I'm afraid. Well, I guess we better...
Eat it.
eat the shoe. You probably. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby shoe.
And on closer inspection, there are clearly footprints all over the balloon as well. In other words, the aim was never the skylight at all with the balloon.
But for what purpose?
A green balloon. That seems somewhat familiar data.
Oh! Ah! It was a piece of a green balloon's envelope that Mr. Naruhodo and Iris found at the scene. And inside the green balloon that Master Gotts claims he saw above the stage when the incident occurred.
Yeah, I'm Gots.
Was the second birdcage, the crux of the whole instantaneous kinesis deception. You mean to say? If we assume... Oh, that's him. Okay. That's you?
If we assume that the balloon is a model of the use on the day, there is a strong possibility something may be connected inside it. Something our absconder was desperate to retrieve before making a hasty getaway.
But the balloon's out of reach.
Hence why he restored to a projectile, namely the shoe. Most probably Draper intended to tear a hole in the envelope by assailing it with the shoe.
Ah, I see. What a fruitless endeavor!
However, his efforts were thwarted when the shoe itself became a prisoner of those lofty heights.
Oh dear, we desperately need to examine the balloon. We do.
Balloon?
The balloon? If only there was some way we could see inside.
You may recall that I found this in the room area, which I believe offers a solution.
Oh, the rope!
Yes, we need to strangle it.
Oh.
To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope?
Mrs. Jones has managed to bring deduction back to the rope! Alright, I have to admit, that was clever. You clever bastard. So we just throw the robot to the balloon and then pull it down to us on the ground? Which is much easier said than done, I feel.
Come on.
It could take us a very long time as well. Yeah, definitely. True. Perhaps we need a more surefire method. Haha, fire.
I see fire.
In fact, we already have one, of course. We have one, of course, don't we?
That's a poison, Naruhodo. Kurare is a poison.
Kurae. First intended destination, what better tool than this crossbow? Just find at the scene, in fact. In all likelihood belongs to Mr. Trapper.
If the man had only brought it away with him that day, he could have avoided losing shoe at such a critical time as this.
Parting with your shoe is just so hard, you know.
So, shall we? Your curiosity is deeply stirred, no doubt, my dear fellow. What is this that Enoch Draper has hidden inside the balloon? Wow.
Ah!
Hi.
That's the head! Ah! What the? A waxwork? It's the head! Hello, Professor!
That doesn't look like because of what I'm talking about. Indeed, it is a waxwork head inside a metal mask. A mask that is shut tight and fastened with strong and quite impenetrable lock.
Makes sense.
Yes, you see.
I see. We see!
Indeed, you see. Yes, you do.
Yes, indeed. So we can see the face inside, that means. Just a moment. This is the head of a waxwork model? Does that mean... Oh, goodness!
He goes. I see you've joined the dots, Miss Sozato. Excellent.
Dotsy dots. Ah! Of course! A headless waxwork model. The case of the adoptive Madame Tuspel's model that you'd largely solved. It was only the head of the killer that was still missing.
Indeed it was. But I believe Madame Tuspels will know how to settle her sizable account with me. This, as you have now surmised, is the head of the infamous professor.
Yes.
Yes.
But why is it still here?
This conclusively confirmed my suspicions. The man responsible for stealing the professor from Madame Tuspels and returning it sans today was none other than ENVtuber.
This is incredible. No, it's an Ace Attorney game. Professor Harebrain's case and the waxwork abduction they're inextricably linked.
Everything's
like
connected.
Drever's workshop.
Everything's connected, Mina. Everything.
Of course it is.
Well, it appears our logical pleasure cruise has come to an end, my dear fellows. All that remains is, yes, to speak with the architect of this adventure. Shoji Megura?
The architect? You mean Mr. Drever?
It seems quite impossible that he escaped via one of the skylights. Obviously the man must still be here in the room. That's not what you said before.
I know,
This
right?
location should be abundantly clear. If you simply reflect on the journey we've made together in this deduction.
You know, Drever is right here, somewhere in this room.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, what will you do the honors?
Of course I will.
Where's the wardrobe?
In the other room. Yes, of course.
No,
Mr. Drever's hiding place must be the...
There's the wardrobe.
Another one. Well...
Yeah, do it.
Wait, should I do it? Like, actually present it?
Yeah, like, there's no penalty for that, so don't worry.
Alright, Mr. Drever. Come out! You said there was no penalty?! Oh. Fuck you.
Not there, Mr. Naruhodo.
But I don't understand.
You could always climb inside yourself. Please don't mind us, do go ahead. I know how fond you are of wardrobes.
I'll think of something else. Thank you very much! Crying. I'm crying. How
Like,
could
this is
Mr.
only
Drever
for
be
this
hiding?
one. I mean, like,
I'm
yeah,
sure that
don't
we've
worry.
already come across a clue that reveals the answer, you know? Yes, it was when we deduced why all the furniture in here was upside down, wasn't it? They gave us the answer, I'm sure. I know! I was memeing! Please. We're very close now, Mr. Naruhodo. I can sense it.
Oh, you're a memer, Mr. Naruhodo. Says Miss Sholmes, the biggest
Look at all
memer
that
of
mess
them
in
all.
front of the safe. Yes, plans and accounting ledgers. Almost as if somebody was in a hurry to empty the contents of the safe, in fact.
Like, those smirks from Sholmes are really rich coming from the guy that was talking about anti-gravity device.
Yeah, I know, right? He's like, oh my god, you're so unrealistic. Like, wow. Before we gained access to the back room, we heard noises from in here.
which tells us that the engineer was still in the building at that point in time.
He was, in fact, searching for the combination to his safe.
And pressed for time made no attempt to ride the furniture that he overturned in the process. From which we can deduce that his search for the combination happened very recently indeed. In summary, Mr. ENVtuber is at the very moment inside the safe. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deductions of this topsy-turvy puzzle.
It wasn't very topsy-turvy in the end, but okay. We still love you. Deduction complete.
Deduction completus. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps it's time we end this game of hide and seek, don't you?
By opening the safe, you mean?
What else?
Let's see, the combination was 1432582. I knew that! Alright then. Goes.
Susato, don't steal my spotlight.
There he is! That's the... Wait, why does he have two monocles? I guess you'll be
You
him.
found me.
Do a barrel roll! Oh, I love him so much.
Me getting out of bed at Mondays.
I forgot he's one of my favorite characters. Here it starts! This is what I was talking to you about. This theme actually sounds very similar to Hairbrain's. And I never noticed. Yeah. I never noticed. Yeah. Like, I was just a dumbass. I think it's because I actually started really liking this theme as time went on. So I became more
realized the other one.
Yeah, so like after having listened to this a bunch, and then going back and hearing Hairbrain's, I was like, oh! You know?
Mind blown.
Yeah, pretty great.
Right then, sir. Mr. ENVtuber, I presume. Correct.
You better start talking. You took Professor Hairbrain with that bogus machine you built. And you shall have to explain the theft of the waxwork from Madame Tuspel's as well.
Whilst I would be delighted to answer your many questions. Personally, I would advise that you deactivate my little parcel first.
Deactivate the fucking time bomb, you- oh my god. Your parcel?
I refer, of course.
D.
The time bomb. I left it at the most prominent position.
Ah!
Ha ha ha. I see. Stunned silence. You're all gearing up to die with me then.
No! Mr. Sholmes, with only 7 seconds to spare. That was too close. That was too close for comfort. I've got one foot in the grave already.
Gravy. I'm trying to help us get a killer or get us killed.
Mr. Sholmes' deductions can be completely life-altering, can't they?
Well, my dear fellows, that was a close shave. Whose fault is that? The reassemblance to an anti-gravity device is really quite startling, I must say.
Anti-gravity devices don't exist!
Wow.
I wouldn't push it,
Wow.
Mr. Sholmes! She's
Wow.
on to you.
Susato is like, okay, I'm done with this.
I'm sorry, I like his theme a
Yes?
lot. I just want to vibe.
I noticed. Are you vibing? That sounds like vibing.
I am.
What a vibe. What happened here?
What are you doing, dude? What on earth happened in here?
The rules! You found me, haven't you? No need to screw me down any further. Everything in here is precisely what it seems.
I mean, at least he's honest, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'll be giving a thorough going over whatever. What fails to click with me is how you were able to locate my workshop. That I was not expecting. When I heard whistling from the other room, I knew it was time to bolt.
Whistling?
Ah, that would have been me.
Ah, he was like whistling on his way in, the dumbass. Oh!
For some reason, I woke in a fine fettle today.
I see.
Imagine waking up happy.
Imagine waking up and just being a harp. Just become harp. Reject humanity, become harp.
Oh my god.
No worse. Just tightly squeezed chips.
My mashed potatoes.
Just tightly squeezed
No words describing
makes me cry.
Hi, horse.
Something about that is making me utterly destroyed. I need a moment here.
Okay.
Tightly squeezed chips.
What do you mean? Our tightly squeezed potatoes. Clearly, I must have screw loose though, as I couldn't remember the combination for the safe. And another one loose, as I couldn't remember on which piece of furniture I'd written it down.
I feel like with all that creaking, you have more than just a few screws loose, honestly.
I beg your pardon.
We also found a rope over by the wall.
Yes, I had hoped to exit through the skylight, but sadly the rope was too short. And my anti-gravity device didn't work at the time. So, I then set about searching for the combination code to open the safe. And burning the incriminating blueprint, don't forget. Regrettably though, you failed to retrieve the head from the balloon among the rafters.
That treacherous balloon. And after that, you hid yourself inside the safe. Having first set up this parcel ticking.
Well, I have no intention of being named by the police. I'm taking time bomb.
I mean, that's why he hid on the safe, right?
I'm progressively getting more drunk with the accent. Please, why do you suppose I choose to hide inside the safe?
I see, so your Gregson is downing vodka at the moment.
Yes, my Gregson is going to a war territory.
Whoa.
War. Laddie. It's no ordinary safe, it's specially designed. A dynamite explosion wouldn't leave a scratch on it. But in fact, the safe was the only safe place.
Haha.
Are you not applauding me, Naruhodo?
That's so funny. You're so funny.
Why not clapping?
Haha.
Precisely.
once you've climbed inside, you wouldn't have been able to get out again.
I invite you to look more closely. The safe is fitted with a handle on the inside to allow the door to be unlocked from within. Actually, most safes that are basically could hold somebody in, right?
We should have a latch on the inside, yes.
Yeah, yes. They should have more because otherwise you could be locked inside by someone.
Yep.
And you wouldn't be able to get out.
Yep. There's literally
And
no
it would be
reason
like
not
if-
to. Ah, so it is.
Yep. I had always intended to blow the place to smithereens in any case. I just wasn't expecting an uninvited guest to come along and screw up my plans. Do you mean to say you're planning to blow this up? That's worse than perjury. No, that was unforeseen.
What do you mean?
Most people run, you see, when they see a tickling time bomb at their feet. So if you would die from it would just mean you failed the survival check. I calculated the time required for retreat to a safe distance and set the device accordingly. But your seemingly endless discourse is the truest panel and it works.
Shh.
Like, it's still kinda...
Yeah, he's eyeing her a lot for that one. Fairly, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, yeah, actually, yeah.
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 Yeah. Is something wrong, Gregson?
No.
Your eyebrows today seems rather lively. Do I have something on my face besides the usual eyes, ears, nose, and mouth?
Yeah, it's called guilt.
Like Gregson's Highland dynamic is something.
Yeah, he's just like, oh my god, this guy, why is he here? I think we have a fairly good idea of what's been going on here now.
Yeah, you know.
What about the two incidents you've evidently been involved in recently? There's a harebrained instantaneous kinesis experiment at the Great Exhibition. And the waxwork model you stole, which this head belongs to.
That's no ordinary head, you know. That's the head of the professor. Clad in mask with a lock so strong, I'm unable to open it safely to reveal the killer's identity. I've been considering carrying it around us. Protection. After all.
That's enough! I think that was what she said. My reading is not that fast sometimes.
That's enough.
What's going on here, Gregson? I'm sure you're aware that I have sole jurisdiction to investigate here. Dr. Seif again. So the forensic investigation team are here. And you know full well this engineer is a key witness. Why are you allowing this lawyer access to him?
Access to him.
He's just like a fucking object. Why do you allow him to see the wares? If Lord Strongheart knew of this, you'd be finished.
Oh, I don't think so.
Doubt it. You lot, leave at once.
Skedaddle.
My
dear Adam, there's no need for such threatening tone, I assure you.
gee.
Bestie. After all, there's no way to greet an old acquaintance, is it, at your side?
Hello, Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes knows Dr. Seif. Wild. Ooh.
It's protecting the machine next door that's causing such a sour expression on your face. You're quite misguided. It's really nothing more than a shell, you...
Get out!
I beg your pardon? But of course, we show ourselves to them. I see you haven't softened at all. Mr. Naruhodo,
Yes?
it would appear that our delightful investigation have run their course for today. Like, it's almost like, it's almost like his ex was like, get out. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, I understand.
I see. Sad noises. But Mr. Sholmes!
Let us leave this place in the doctor's capable hands.
But
But Mr. Sholmes.
Mr. Sholmes.
Why are you lying?
I said get out. Now. All of you.
Okay, chill.
Your presence here is not required either, Gregson.
Oh.
He definitely seemed a bit wary of that.
Gregson out. But I just say one thing before I head out. Why? It wasn't for this lawyer and his companions. We'd never have found this place, and the whole workshop would have been blown to bits. There was a time bomb somewhere there. That slot has disarmed.
Inspector?
Ooh. Oh no! Someone giving you a chuckle, has it, Trevor? So sorry. Didn't mean to offend. You're quite right, of course. You did disarm the time bomb, didn't you? Yes. You did disarm that one.
Eh? What are you... That one? You mean... Oh no.
Why? What do you mean? Is there other one? You didn't say there is another one.
Great! He never said there wasn't another one. No! Random unnamed policeman, get away!
Ah!
Oh no, what happens to Bobby number 1 and Bobby number 2?
Luckily, Bob was there too.
It was an hour later that we heard the news.
So,
of the enormous explosion that ripped through the experimentation stage at the Great Exhibition. It was the harebrain's invention and all its secrets were blown away forever.
to smithereens.
Guy. Oh no! What are we gonna do, Lee?
So yeah, Mina, you see it will be 1.5 hours.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
I'm just saying.
Her like wasting time.
Hella doing everything freaking.
Her like it's like, let me talk very slowly so this time gets dragged out. 24th of October, 9:11 AM. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber.
Good morning to you, Mr. Naruhodo. I lost my science book.
Ah, good morning, Professor. Ready for today's proceedings?
Maybe.
I see.
I hope so. I should be. Aye. Anything left here. Good morning, my dear fellows. It is I, Morning Sholmes.
Morning. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you're here.
Well, naturally, a true gentleman stands shoulder to shoulder with his friends in battle. at all times.
Except for the other day and the other day. Thank you, I really appreciate it. I'll see you later then. Now, Professor, fuck that guy.
Wow! Oh, wow, that was freaking... I don't think Hemel's going to be happy about that.
I know, right? Now, Professor, we really need to remain calm in the courtroom today. Yes, do your hardest. Try your hardest not to enter the witness and stand uninvited again. Yeah.
Saying that you did it. Yes, I realize it was a mistake, but my dear fellows, I must interject.
Here he is. Oh, you're still here, Mr. Sholmes. What's the matter?
Wow. How to feel unwanted. Surely you've overlooked some praise, have you not? To be cast out my direction, hmm?
Sorry? I don't follow.
Yeah, that I noticed. Once I spell it out, I, the great Headlock Sholmes, the greatest detective of worldwide acclamation, the really humble guy,
Yep.
are also some ungodly hour to be here now. First thing in the morning. A miracle, you must agree.
Well, if I must agree, then.
As you know, my script is quite impregnable. Iris had employed her full gamut of tactics.
Uh-oh, I think I got varnish on my hand, and now my thumb is all shiny, and I can't get it off!
Oh!
God damn it.
You have a superpower, you have a shiny freaking...
I have shiny thumb.
The fancy time to use doing a rhythm games.
Yeah.
She pulled the covers off, shook me, poked both cheeks, punched me, and kicked me from the bed. Then she poured a boiling cup of her latest experimental blend on my face, and at last I was bestirred.
Oh my! Iris sure has been busy. Iris doesn't have it in her to go that far. She's too nice.
Ah, I sense the spirit of a fellow scientist, and who realizes the infinite possibilities of blending tea. I'm the one worthy of praise here, not Iris. This is my victory!
I have no idea who this is gonna be. Is it gonna be Vin?
Sorry to get in.
Oh, okay. Oh, Inspector Gregson. Good morning.
Gregson, my dear fellow! Why the grim expression in this delightful early hour? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because I've been confronted with a grimmer expression, eh? Huh? Dear me, are you going to take the insult lying down, Professor? What? I don't know!
Poor Professor.
Anyway, here's the paperwork you asked for.
What paperwork?
This paperwork. Ah, I took the liberty of requesting it yesterday. I have a feeling it might prove useful. You wouldn't believe the hopes I had to jump to get this rot out of archives. Oh.
Huh.
Is a professor attitude report. Oh.
Oh! That mass murderers?
Murderer.
Murderer? Who killed 5 members of the aristocracy? Gee, of the return. Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry!
I was found guilty in a close trial 10 years ago now. It was all done under wraps. Fish and chip wraps.
I see.
And he was quickly executed after the trial. It's all in here.
Kills
Killer's
hostage report.
attitude.
Yay. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Inspector.
Yes, much obliged, Gregson. Wink, wink. Slowly off on the yard, just doing what he can. The shadow of the great detective's short, of course.
Ah, yes. Well, let's examine that thing. Give it to me. His name was
Redacted.
Bobby. Anyway. Condemned prisoner.
Oh my god, do you think that—
Bobby!
Oh no.
Redacted for confidentiality.
think?
Pseudonym the professor. Death by hanging. Confirmed at midnight. 17th of June. Stevens? Courtney Stevens? Is that the same Courtney? Did you just change her name? Maybe. I mean, it's the only Courtney we've come across, right?
Oh, maybe it's Judge Courtney.
What?
Judge Courtney?
No.
What do you mean no?
Well done, Professor Hairbrain. This is it. Today we're going to lay all this to rest, at last. I wish you all the best of luck, Professor.
What? I suppose he'll be in there today, will he? The Rebber.
Yeah.
Dribbler. Diddler. Fiddler.
The diddle fiddler. Yes. We expect the prosecution to summon him as a witness.
I'm still amazed that you managed to find him in just one day. I really owe you both so much.
Hazel! And the defendant! I was about to resume! Can you make your way to the courtroom at once?
No.
Yes, sir. This is it then, the final chapter. Funny, my heart's racing a little. I've not felt this before, actually. A strange foreboding. As if something's gonna happen in this trial that I'm not ready for. But I can't let that distract me from the only thing that really matters. Finding the truth. Uh-oh, where did I put my...
Rubber?
No. There it is.
You lost your Trevor?
No, that wasn't it.
Must be
24th of October, 9:30 AM. The Old Bailey courtroom.
I mean old. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. God damn it. Resume the public hearing of Albert Hairbrain here present, who stands accused of murder. Are the counsels for the prosecution and the defense ready to proceed?
Ah! It's Bob!
Prosecution is ready, my lord.
There he is!
Bob.
Bob, not the defense is ready, my lord. Promise, Lord Vinci says his apprentice with him. His apprentice with memory loss. That totally isn't a Sogi. It's not a Sogi.
It's Bob.
Never.
It's Bob. It's Bob.
It's Bob. Bob Sogi.
This let Asogi be. This is Bob, Mina. Jesus. If my Lord Von Zix,
Who is that dapper young gentleman?
Yes, my lord. I have no idea what you're talking about, my lord. There appears to be someone standing at your side.
That's the funniest. Where
Who? I didn't notice him. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
I'm sorry, I double. Yes, my apprentice, an assistant, a mute, an amnesiac, and no face. Okay.
And pretty boy.
The prosecution believes today's proceedings will see the complexity of this case to rise considerably. So I need a mute guy to tell me what to do.
Yeah, I love that animation. It's one of my favorites. I'm sorry.
As you may see, Strongcard paid a lot of money for this court opener. I therefore instructed my assistants to attend to ensure the smooth running of this trial. Hence,
Literally, like
pouring me-
they're like,
hence
oh,
smoothing
this
the pouring
is
of the drinks.
the smooth running of liquid refreshment by the look of it.
Yep. Susato?
Sato, get the sword! The way he holds himself, the way he moves. Couldn't be anyone else. But he's still suffering from amnesia. So there's really nothing we can do at the moment. I know, but... Oh, this is so very hard.
It would appear the prosecution has done a fine job in responding to the demand of the court made yesterday. I understand you have successfully secured the engineer who disappeared from the scene on the day in question. Yes, my lord. I intend to call him as a witness shortly.
Nice.
Thank you. Very good, very good. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this country today.
Random, sis. Random. Remember that.
Always remember the random number. Are you ready and willing to proceed? Of course, my lord. I'm sure we all understand the importance of doing this, our civic duty.
I mean, let's to be fair. This
To be or not
is
to be.
the same guys as yesterday, but I just love the Ed Random. Sure.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I could make believe it.
Yeah. I do so despise deception and deceit. I find it so very wearing. To take a man's life with a conjuring trick. It is against the magician's code, not to mention the law.
Anything scientists should follow the wrath of God, if you ask me.
I guess.
We have to listen to what's said on both sides' defense, and, then settle on one. That's it in it.
I think he's. Oh boy.
Well, I wasn't like this at all. Watermole. All parties are ready to proceed. You may begin, Lord Van Zix. Before I do, my lord, there is a report I must read to the court.
Goddamn dick butt.
Bob. What the hell is this, Bob?
It's a dick butt,
Oh,
sir.
of course, you cannot speak! Yesterday at the Great Exhibition Grounds, the evidence of primary importance in the case. The super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine, which was installed on the experimentation stage, was deliberately destroyed exactly after we could actually examine it. God damn it.
Yep.
The explosion affected by an unknown party. It was what? An explosion?
Explosion.
Yashi, explosion. This is outrage. Yes, I heard the great news yesterday. Scotland Yard submitted a report in my office in the evening. I read that the machine was blasted to smithereens and this wreckage reduced to ashes in the flames. I have here a photographic print of the scene taken in the wake of the explosion. It shows what little remains of the machine.
Oh, hey,
Oh yes, a terrible business.
He did destroy the evidence. He did it to destroy the evidence, didn't he? Did he, I guess.
Laddie.
That Enoch Trevor.
The court will take this print as evidence, counsel. Give me.
Here you go, sir.
Late yesterday afternoon. A protection afforded to the machine by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act was revoked. No, Mina, there is no stereoscopic way to look at it.
There's definitely a hole in the middle there, though.
Oh, and the hole in your argument. Aha! However, before a thorough investigation could begin, the invention was obliterated from existence. As such, this will become a very different trial.
Different, you say?
Yes.
Ah!
Because Bob is working. As it stands now, with no evidence on which to draw meaningful conclusions. The authenticity of the kinesis machine will remain forever in obscurity. Indeed, a most unfortunate state of affairs. However, one thing remains clear. The victim's death was the result of the actions of the accused. Of that we can be certain. For it was the accused himself who was operating the machine, and who ultimately caused its loss of control. Wait a second.
Solvent 6 rightly says this is a very different trial now. The accused accepts responsibility for his part in the events that transpired. He acknowledges that Mr. Asman died as a result of the accident caused by his machine's malfunction. However, unbeknownst to the professor, he was being deliberately deceived by a pair of very clever fraudsters.
Names, counsel, if you please.
The engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, and the victim himself, Mr. Odi Asman. So what exactly were these two men up to behind the defendant's back? The defense intends to expose that information, thus establishing the unequivocal innocence of the defendant. He said it.
Thank you, counsels. The position of the prosecution and defense have been clearly stated. Lord Van Zyk, summon your first witness, please. At once, my lord. The prosecution calls the engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to the stand.
Cool. Cool.
State your name and occupation for the court. Name, Enoch Drebber. Occupation. Hard to pin down, I would say. Why the full sense of all your taxes? Your file indicates that you are currently being investigated in connection with another
Arson and
case.
dynamite are the best combo. Would go boom and fire. Yeah. It really is.
The theft of a waxwork model, is it? Most extraordinary sounding business. But that has no bearing on this trial, I assure you. Leave it from your mind. You're familiar with the public experiment carried out at the Great Exhibition some days ago. The accused super high voltage instantaneous kinesis demonstration. Yes, you could say that. I am aware of it. There was a terrible accident, wasn't there? God damn it, okay. It was you, Mr. Drebber, who constructed the vast machine used in the experiment.
However, you did not draw this dick butt.
Also, our investigation indicates. Can you confirm your involvement? Yes, I constructed it, in precise accordance with the blueprints, but that's all. Then the court would be very interested to hear your thoughts about the machine, I'm sure. An amazing device, if you ask me. The pinnacle of modern science, making instantaneous kinesis a reality at last.
What?
Good gracious! That's a good angle. Do you mean to say
That is a
that
good
the
angle.
experiment was bona fide? Is that your belief, sir? Yes, that's very much my belief. Such a waste that it blew up.
But we've already established the machine was nothing more than a prop for an elaborate conjuring trick. Yeah, that was hard to say for some reason.
We've established nothing of the sort. All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings is that the same outcome couldn't have been produced by means of stage trickery. The defense merely proposed a method and demonstrated its feasibility, nothing more.
But
I know. We've procrastinated long enough, I feel. Witness, you will now give your formal testimony. About the machine that you constructed for the purpose of the demonstration of the Great Exhibition. Understood.
He is definitely being a sussy baka
Rebel.
right now.
I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago through Mr. Asman's introduction. He provided me with the blueprint and I constructed the machine to his precise specification. It was no trick. If the whole show was a fraud, I would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads, and then the crash headfirst into the crystal tower. A terrible accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science on which the machine was built was flawed somehow.
A body double?
That goes without saying, surely. To give the impression that something moved when in reality it hasn't. It's basic conjuring principle. Deception cannot be achieved without substituting the original with fake at some point in the performance. It would be right in saying we haven't managed to establish anything along those lines. Incidentally, the prosecution has already confirmed that Mr. Asman has no twin siblings. It's my understanding that this witness is well versed in the conjuring artfulness. Such talents do not indicate that he was actually able to accomplish what he claims. Namely, the construction of what, by all accounts, must have an extremely complex scientific machine. Whatever do you mean? Yesterday proceedings brought the true nature of your past exploits to light, Mr. Drebber.
Indeed it did, my lord. As a swindler who preys on innocent scientists to elicit government money through conjuring know-how.
Yes, if that's true that I possess considerable knowledge of stage magic. But critically, my scientific knowledge more than machines on any academic in the field. Investigating of the witness workshop attests to that claim, my lord. As evidence, the police found this Royal Society trophy for the young talent in science there.
Yes, that's true. We spotted it ourselves. I thought it was a massager, but let's just leave that.
Yep, a massager.
Yep.
If my hypothesis is sound, it can always be forged into a physical manifestation with sufficient skill. But I may have solved the secrets of some deceptive wolfos to sniveling, talentless scientists in the past. Would therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was an unfortunate accident, or of course, a deliberate act of murder carried out by misuse of the science.
Oh, we're gonna get him!
Counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please.
Aye, sir. Yes, my lord. Cross-examine the doodle.
The doodle?
Hold that! So you're already acquainted with Mr. Asman himself?
Not really, by chance. I seen name mentioned in the papers, that's all. I had no interest in his private matters. If he was an unscrupulous investor, it was no concern of mine. As long as people pay their bills, I take up my tools and construct what they ask for.
So why did Mr. Asman approach you in particular, then?
Who can say? I presume because my name is associated with an excellence in engineering.
Not to mention an excellence in fraud.
Hard to gouge, but the point is, all I did was construct the machine according to the blueprint I was given. In other words, the Kinesis machine was built on solid scientific principles. Yes, you might say that. Professor Hairbrain certainly has a mind like no other.
What? Are you okay?
No. No. I'm not.
What is it? Do you need a moment?
Oh my god. Yeah, I need a second. I'm sorry. Oh my god.
What the hell did you do?
Jesus, Argo.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm trying to recover.
From?
Can you actually check something on your phone?
Is it in the Discord?
Yeah, I'm sending you a link.
Is it the box with thumbnail? Yeah.
No, it's not the thumbnail. Display it.
Okay, I'll do it later.
No.
Yes, I will!
Oh, just do it on phone.
No! It's clear that you have both scientific knowledge and knowledge of conjuring magic, however.
Oh. The more knowledge you have the better equipped you are to handle whatever comes along. The implication that I furnished the machine with some trickery, I think.
It's a possibility we have to explore.
Unfortunately, though, the machine has been blown to Kingdom Come. So there's really nothing left to explore, is there? It appears that the Kinesis machine was fitted with a time explosive device of some kind.
Hmm.
And there's nothing left of that device either, not a single shred of evidence remaining, I hear.
Well, he seems extremely happy about that. He must have planned all this from the outset.
In any case, it's abundantly clear that the experiment couldn't have been a trick.
Of course, that's it. Mr. Assman was a twin.
Perhaps my learned friend wasn't listening earlier. Mr. Asman had no twin siblings. But did you recheck?
Did you check, like, double, triple?
Twice.
No, I heard you before, but the thread of hope hadn't quite left me. The demonstration could have been a trick if there was somebody who looked sufficiently like the victim.
Now hold on a thread of hope.
But Dr. Seif absolutely ruled out that possibility.
It's beyond question that the victim himself, Mr. Asman, did move from the station to Crystal Tower.
However, it is also beyond question that this dick butt is starting to annoy me.
The fingerprints found at the scene attest to that fact.
I like to think that all of his scrolls just have dick butts drawn on over them. So it kind of been orchestrated using someone who looked identical to Mr. Asman then. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, just about the scrolls.
Ah! No, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Just that the idea of someone who looked identical to the victim is playing on my mind.
Identical.
Identical.
It was me.
Ah! Why did you do that to me, Mr. Vincent?
Aha.
It crashed head first, you say?
According to many witness reports from those three at the time, yes.
Were you not there at the exhibition grounds on the day?
Unlikely. I rarely leave my workshop.
Yet another of your unique inventions was found at the scene.
Well, it was the unwiring of the machine that I labored over for many months. I saw clearly with my own eyes the bureaucrat plummeting headfirst into the tower.
What a surprise.
I believe the victim's neck was broken from the headlong fall, wasn't it?
How would you have come by that information?
Even an infernal recluse like me with the newspapers, you know. According to reports, 2 injuries were apparent on the victim's body.
Yes, he'd been stabbed in the chest by a screwdriver that belonged to the defendant, Andrew. And he had broken vertebrae as a result of a fall from a considerable height.
Correct. My learned friend has been doing his research, it seems. What a surprise. Do you have updated autopsy report?
Do we know which injury was the fatal one? Yes?
Sadly not. Forensic science is not yet at a level where such thing can be determined. Hmm. What do we know is that the victim died having sustained both injuries at some point during the experiment. And since he was found in the birdcage with his neck broken. It's obvious that he fell from considerable height.
I suppose that's hard to deny. So you understood the science, did you?
Not in the slightest.
Oh, right.
As I said numbers of times, I'm an engineer. My job is to manufacture according to blueprints I'm given. I would be inviting manifold problems if I foolishly allowed my brain to digest ideas behind them. I could be accused of stealing those ideas, for example.
But how is it possible to construct a machine without really understanding the principles it relies on?
Well, you're practicing law without really understanding the principle it relies on, aren't you?
Ow! Right in the life points.
Curious.
A very good point! You got me good! You got me good there, boy! Stand up for yourself, Mr. Naruhodo!
The point is the experiment resulted in instantaneous kinesis taking place. As such, the science must be sound. Yes, and through the experiment results are all that matters when it comes to proving a hypothesis.
He's certainly very sure of himself. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now that the machine has been completely destroyed by yesterday's explosion, it's gonna be impossible to argue as its authenticity one way or the other.
But if we are unable to establish that it was a piece of stage trickery rather than genuine science, we will have no grounds on which to demonstrate Professor Hairbrain's innocence.
Both Mr. Aspen and the stand and this man in the stand tricked the professor and used him. That was so hard to say for some reason. They took advantage of his naivety and his unbending belief in his work, and I won't let them get away with it.
Yeah.
Seeing Mr. Professor is an old friend of Lord Van Sieg's. What on earth must he be feeling towards Trevor?
Professor is the killer! Albert, no, the other one!
Okay. 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 I feel like it's this. Yeah, I think it's just head first, because. Wait, what is it? Oh, right, it's the birdcage. Damage to its base, right? If it crashed head first, then the top would be damaged.
Yeah.
Great. I'm not completely brainless yet. We've examined the birdcage that crashed into the Crystal Tower ourselves. As you can see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot.
Following the explosion, it fell some 30 feet into the glass of the Crystal Tower. That level of damage has to be expected, surely.
I agree. The damage itself is entirely understandable, but what doesn't make sense is the location of that damage. Hahaha, caught you red-handed. All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the birdcage, not the top.
What are you saying? The opposite of where they should be.
That's right, my lord. The birdcage that was at the scene is damaged at its base. So, we have reports of the birdcage falling headlong into the crystal tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were two bird cages in play that day, which were at some point switched. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experience at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. I'm sorry. Trevor, probably.
Good gracious, explain yourself, witness. Well... If we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we draw. The damage on the base of the bird clearly indicates that it crushes tail first into the tower.
But multiple witness reports claim it fell headfirst.
The birdcage materialized on the sky next to balloon flying over the stage, following a spontaneous explosion. At an altitude of some 60 feet above the ground level.
Which is approximately 18 meters.
Then proceeded to fall some 30 feet into the crystal tower in the ensuing
Deflagration? I don't know.
deflagration. Witness reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable.
I fucking love how Bob just stands there. Do
On
nothing,
face.
just stand at my side and look cool. But the victim's neck was broken.
He plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However he fell, it would be unsurprising to find one or two of his vertebrae crushed. A riveting scientific analysis of events from the prosecution there. Thought to be even more rigorous, you will have to say it was only one vertebra, actually.
Look at him being a grammar hounding Van Seeks. That's hilarious. He wasn't quiet for long.
I find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Van Seeks. This witness is clearly a swindler, and one who deceived a personal friend of his.
If you're going to establish this deception, do it right.
Sorry?
I feel like that's the undertone here.
Ah yes, and there is one point the defense appears to have forgotten. It obviously wasn't a trick, as a certain truth very plainly demonstrates.
What?
It seems to me that the cross-examination had better continue until we resolve this matter. Mr. Drebber, you will amend your testimony with details of this truth. Of course, we must treat the matter
Sorry, I was.
scientifically after all.
You know the feeling when your finger just that, you know? You just want to click mentally. Oh, I nearly had him there.
I'm searching for myself. Oh, here I am.
He keeps doing
His animations are great. I love them. Oh, I see where we're going with this. What do you mean?
Well, before the demonstration began, the victim was alive on stage in front of the audience.
Yes, there are lots of witnesses who saw Mr. Asman on the experimentation stage. That's true.
And the victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following fall. Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was at altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. That difference of 30 feet is therefore a total distance the birdcage fell. And there is no other location from which the cage could have fallen that distance if it didn't drop out of the sky.
Oh, I got him good.
Ergo, the victim himself must have been beamed into the stage from the sky above the crystal tower, and he must investigate every nook and cranny. A trenchant scientific analysis. Dear me, every time I hear this it explained, it sounds increasingly plausible. Oh yes. It's all very well thought out.
He's like, it's my master plan. And he's like, oops, that slipped out. Certainly all the spectators on the day saw it. The birdcage plummeting 30 feet through the air, I mean. Irritatingly, yes. Okay, so see, my issue here is do I present this?
What do you feel you should present?
Or do I present this? We'll say this? That's my gut feeling. My gut feeling is this.
Why?
Because it shows the hole.
But it doesn't show the height.
Fair. Okay, I'm presenting this one then.
Like, I understand, but it doesn't show the height.
I'm gonna assume it's this then. Great. This is a diagram of the experimentation stage and its surroundings. Oh shit. He went quiet. We know that somehow the birdcage appeared in mid-air before falling into the crystal tower. A fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you'll see that there's another possible location from which the birdcage could have fallen. The same distance of 30 feet.
No.
He's like, God damn it. Ryu has located his brain.
Well, it appears the defense has a possible explanation to put forward. Go ahead, counsel. Do it.
Yes, my lord. Of course.
It will indicate the place at which you're referring to at the same diagram. You will always also indicate where I should have on breakfast tomorrow. The alternate location from which the birdcage could possibly have fallen. The requisite 30 feet.
I'm assuming it's the top of the stage then. We're supposed to indicate,
You
right?
don't even realize how many people have problem at this part.
I'm supposed to point down here?
No.
Here then.
I wasn't saying you're wrong, I'm just saying that you're actually good and like
Yeah, because like
Just saying
to me, it's like because I can understand because people would assume like the falling location, right? And that's here.
Yeah? No, that's not the problem actually. That was actually not the problem.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh wait, they're trying to indicate the balloon or something?
Oh, they were trying to indicate a lot of things.
I see. Well,
Yeah, I know.
the place I'm referring to is here.
But that's where the birdcage would have been to begin with.
Which is exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine on the stage. What we must also consider is the height of the stage itself.
Go on, console.
It turns out that the experimentation stage was built at a considerable height above ground level. Oh. If we look at the diagram, in fact, you'll see it's about the same height above the ground as the balloon was above the crash site. Vince's Angie. When the experiment got underway, the machine and the birdcage were engulfed in steam. Why do I keep clicking there?
Because you click.
I'm having another yawn. Jesus.
You okay?
I think so.
You sure?
Yeah. The
Is
window's
oxygen
open.
there?
I think so. I opened my
Okay, good.
window. At that moment, the floor of the stage gave way and if we assumed there to be a void underneath. I did use the varnish, but I did that outside, so...
Uh-huh.
Yes, I did! I walked outside! I actually
Okay,
did.
I believe you.
Thank you. Actually did this time. I did paint in here, I guess, but it was just like with... This birdcage is the one seen by the
not
audience
by
would have
spray.
fallen... No! Fallen almost
Yeah.
exactly the same distance from, like, acrylic paint tubes.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's not...
But I don't know, maybe... You know... Maybe just
It's not
leaving it...
vaporizing much, so...
Maybe leaving it drying in here was enough.
Nah, not really.
Yeah. I mean, it is touch dry now, so... But it'll take another... Maybe, like, to the morning. To really... get it dry, so... Once again, my lord. This all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage, but two.
Whoa there. My learned friend has no evidence that the stage has such a contrivance in its design. Bob, tell him.
Tell him, Bob. Oh, wait.
I want
Bob!
to
This is... Bob, this is why we need to talk about branding.
What do you mean talk about?
Someone is responsible for the... Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the kinesis machine itself. It's true. However, the
Getting
stage
off the
still
ride
stands.
so fast.
Yeah. And
Oh.
take a moment to look at the photographic print of the scene following yesterday's explosion.
Look at this photographic scene on the print. Every time I... Good lord, the metal
Every time I
grill
look at it-
form on the floor mentions I'm done.
It really does make me cry, though.
Every time I see a hoe,
Did,
and what the hell is nearby its head?
you did read this, right? I'm not just dying.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you read it?
No.
Good.
Yes, most likely blown open by the force of the explosion that destroyed the rest of the machine. The defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated immediately.
No.
Mr. Trevor.
Mm.
It was you who built the kinesis machine. Which means that it was you who built the two bird cages that were used to carry out its deception. Whether Professor Hairbrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference. Because it's the construction of this machine that matters. A machine designed to take Mr. Asmon's life. And lay the blame firmly at the professor's door. Something that could only have been carried out by you, Enoch Drebber. Is he okay? That's twice so far that animation has been used. I mean...
My learned friend has reached the end of his wild assertion. Excuse me, Counsel, but are you not afraid that he's going to accidentally cut your head off? No.
No.
The prosecution would like to crush the defense argument slowly but surely.
That's why I hired this guy specifically.
And by hired, I mean Strongheart gave it to me.
Strongheart gave him to me for free.
In the first day of Christmas, my Strongheart gave me to me.
Asylum.
Bob!
Oh my god! I hate you.
On the first day of Christmas, Lord Strongheart gave to me some mute Bob, the cork opener, the dig bag drawer.
No, wait, that's Bob who drew those. What?
What? Your what, Mr. Naruhodo?
Huh?
Your argument is invalid.
Oh. What if I ask really nicely? Please?
Bob, what do you say? You see.
I see. No, he doesn't, because he's wearing a mask.
Just look at his eyes.
I can't see them!
Just listen to his voice then.
I can't! He doesn't! Asogi, please talk to me.
Your argument is invalid on 2 counts.
The 2?
Yes, it's more than 1, but less than 3. Firstly, before and after the experiment, the witness went nowhere near the kinesis machine. Every relevant member of staff from the exhibition has attested to that. And I believe members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment. In other words, Mr. Drebber had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages.
Oh, wait. Uh-oh. But I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to.
The nonsense with the crossbow, that doesn't bother you bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed into the tower are one and the same. The forensic investigation team report is unequivocal on that point.
Like, basically, what we're implying here is that the forensic investigation team might have been lying.
No, they cannot. Like, they have no business in that. So.
Well, yeah, no. I'm saying the logical conclusion of Ryu's accusation is we have 2 options. Either the forensic team was mistaken, or they were lying. No, but I mean... I'm saying if we go by the fact that Ryu's is correct. But that's...
Mina, listen, you're either wrong or just not right.
But, like, doesn't... Am I... Oh my god. Did I ingest too many fumes? Anyway.
I don't know. It's like... It was so funny that basically you said investigation team is wrong. No matter what. Like...
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm trying to think of like what other options there could be here.
Like, we could be wrong too. Like,
yeah,
you
no.
know,
I was saying going by the assumption that Ryu is not wrong, which I was not confirming. I was just saying in the theoretical situation that Ryu might not be wrong.
Then
he's implying
that is either wrong or lying.
No, yeah. In the case that you is correct, then that would be the outcome. Yes, the investigation team would have to be lying or mistaken, one of the two. They just didn't investigate at all. They were just like, fuck this. Yeah. Ah! But again, I'm not saying that you is correct. I'm just saying if we're going by that assumption, he's making a quite crazy accusation, right? Like, come on,
And the second flaw in your assertion is that you don't have Bob.
Oh.
And distinctive lack of motive.
Can you lend him to me? Please?
Well, I have him, you don't.
Oh.
Why would this man
I'm
not want to take
I'm
the
sorry,
victim's life?
Domini. I will get to the ara. I apologize. I was having a
Oh, no.
discussion about bird cages, okay?
You're silly.
You silly noodle.
Had no reason to do so.
Ara. Are you sure about that?
What was that in the gallery? Who said that?
Ara,
David,
Herlog
Find
noise.
the ara.
Ara, Herlog noise blows a horn.
Ara, my dear fellow.
That's hilarious. A motive? Do I have to think of everything myself?
Bob, can you say ara? As expected. I have here a contract provided by the witness. What contract is this, Lord Van Zix? It has a squiggly, a line, a square, and it says something about the experiment. The contract into which Mr. Draper entered with the victim, Mr. Asman. It reads: if me dead, no money.
Yeah.
Mr. Draper is to receive 30% of all remunerations from the government grants. Remunerations.
What?
Wow, 1-6. Wow, you read a dictionary.
You're so cool.
30%. That's more than 20. Yes, certainly very favorable contract conditions. You know what's funny?
Yes.
So far in this whole episode, we never once had summation examination yet.
Yeah.
And the first game, summation examination every 5 minutes.
I guess there's nothing to summate examinate.
But like, you know, it was funny because in the first game it felt like every 5 minutes is summation examination.
Yeah. I guess there's nothing to summate examinate anymore.
Yeah, because they are actually not...
Oh, sorry, did you read that?
No!
I'm sorry.
But there was one very important provision bolted onto that clause.
What provision?
Doritos. Mr. Draper might only uphold his right on the condition that both contracting parties are alive. In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void.
God damn! The amount of evidence in this fucking case, I swear to God.
Oh, you think that's a lot?
I know what's coming.
So you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Asman's death.
I know what's coming.
Diametric opposite, in fact. You know what's funny?
It's called Ace Attorney Finale, baby!
Mina, you watch the gameplay, you think it's fine, then you actually play it and just look at this like, too many options.
This is not favoring my autism at all.
No, it doesn't.
Please just give me something concise. Thank you! Okay.
Okay, Mina, you want something concise?
Yes.
Go to options.
I know, no. Yeah, so guys, we have this... Where is it?
So if you're really bad at this, you can actually enable it, and it basically be a VN.
Yep! You're gonna just watch it happen.
Need I say more? The witness had neither an opportunity nor a reason to commit the alleged crime.
I guess we better fucking find out how he did it.
Do you want to fight? In short, the possibilities of Mr. Draper having done as you suggest is nil. Is Bob.
Ugh. Can I have Bob, please? No?
No.
Ah! Bonk.
A body has been discovered.
It belongs to the Naruhodo.
It would seem the defense assertion was somewhat wide of the mark. Like, Naruhodo will be the victim and the defendant on the same ticket. Lord Van Zix, you will submit the contract as evidence, please.
That's gonna be useful, I guess.
Can you examine it?
It's true.
Despair, Runo.
Despair, Runo. If Trevor had no opportunity to switch the birdcage onto the stage with the one in the crystal tower, he couldn't have done it. And in any case, I have no idea what his motive might have been. Okay.
What?
The investor, Mr. Odiasman, hereby enters into contract with the provider, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to fund labor and materials for the construction of a super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income. Mr. Drebber may only uphold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive.
Oh, we've seen Drebber's, that's his signature, and I guess that Asman. Pretty. How pretty. There is one aspect of your argument that still holds true, however. Ah! There were 2 bird cages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. Ah. So I'm sure you're on the right lines, Mr. Naruhodo. I have no doubt that there are other aspects of your assertion that are undeniable truths too. Ah!
But it would seem the defense has no rejoined the offer.
No rejoinder to offer. I'm sorry.
Ka. Well, I must say I'm a little surprised. I came here to testify about the machine I built, and instead my reputation is defiled. But the prosecution counter has set the record straight, I think. It's impossible that I'm the culprit.
Damn! At the beginning of this trial, we believed that there was only 1 birdcage. Yet now, we know that there must have been 2. In other words, there's more to the demonstration than we realized at first. I think it's abundantly clear that the same applies to the culprit.
Get to the point.
The stage demonstration was constructed and set up in its entirety by you, Mr. Drebber. Therefore, it's inconceivable that you had no hand in the events that transpired. So our circumstances mean it's impossible that you could have carried out the crime yourself. Knock knock! Hello? Who is it?
Trick or treat.
Oh,
You have candy?
Hence a potato chip.
God damn it. You already gave it away.
No, it's a new potato chip.
New?
Yes, it's my second potato chip.
Mm-hmm.
More chipper than the next. More chipper than the other.
I understand.
Mm-hmm. So circumstances mean it's impossible that you could have carried out the crime yourself. It points to the fact that someone else was involved.
Someone else? Counsel, are you suggesting...
Yes, my lord. Enoch Drebber had an accomplice.
Okay,
Yes?
an accomplice now. Well then, I presume. Prepared for what's to come. Now that you're accusing not only the witness, but someone else of the most serious of crimes. I just want to say
Ah,
that
yes?
considering the pacing so far, like this is quite a jump to do.
Yeah. Yep. He had an
And-
accomplice! What?
Yeah, like this is quite a jump to do, because like, yeah.
Yep.
And also a lot of people have problems in this place, and I'm not surprised because
No.
it is a jump.
Oh yeah, it's a huge mess.
because now you just need to start think back.
Yep. Ouch.
If this accusation turned out to be false, then make no mistake. I will bonk you personally. The prosecution will demand an equally serious punishment for your slander. It was you, 1-6. Well, counsel, do you intend to pursue the course and formally accuse other party of involvement in this matter?
What do I do here? At the moment, this is little more than a hunch on my part. I don't know for sure if Drebber had an accomplice, or even if he really used a culprit here. One way or another, though, I have to make my position clear as a lawyer. So, what's my stance gonna be? Did Drebber have an accomplice or not? Wait,
What?
I don't know. Did he? Like, I want to say yes, but I'm just not sure who I would be naming.
Then let's just go there and see who we have.
The victim? No.
What about Strongheart?
At this point? No.
What do you mean at this point?
He's the final boss, damn it!
What do you mean final boss? He's a good guy.
Totally! The defense is ready to name Mr. Drebber's accomplice.
Just go to the court record, look at this face.
Somehow the two bird cages must have been switched. Everything points to that. But according to the coroner's report, that's not a possibility. Bah! But that inconsistency itself is a clue.
Counsel?
Yes, sir? My lord?
You have received a start warning already. If you are nevertheless determined, then I must now ask you to identify this alleged accomplice by name. So your answer, please. What do you claim to have been Mr. Drebber's accomplice?
I mean, if we're...
Strongheart.
Yeah, sure. If we're following his
Look.
logic...
Yeah?
If we're following the logic he's going by right now, it has to be the victim himself
No, like...
or Courtney.
Yeah, like, this is only
That-
like...
that,
two,
like-
like...
That's the only
No.
two options.
Oh no, it was the child.
Yeah, oh no, it was the child. No, the balloon! That was for Gregson for sure. He's a horrible guy. Look at those
Madame
chips. Like,
Tussauds.
fuck, man.
Madame Tussauds swing everything.
He just ruins everything. God. Okay, well, like the logical conclusion. That's what I've been saying. Like, if we want to go to the logical conclusion of his accusation itself, this is what he's implying. He's implying that the forensics team was involved.
Yes.
Like, that's what's new.
Extreme jump. Like, this
Yeah, it's a huge jump.
The ass.
Yeah. The name of the person in question is...
What's wrong, my Nipponese friend?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a jump. I'm just saying that if he is implying... that someone else switched the bird cages, it has to have been them. Like, there's no one else.
But, like, it's such a jump that him being wrong at this point would literally destroy him.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the way that I see it is probably that it's sort of like it's sort of a logical conclusion, however it is a jump. Like, that's what I'm saying. He's making a huge accusation if he claimed the bird cages were switched.
Yep.
But the glass in the professor's clothes kind of prove it. You know?
And it's like the problem, right? Sometimes you have those jumps, sometimes don't, and you sometimes don't know what you're supposed to kind of do, because sometimes you jump too far and the game is like, no. like, for example, you wanted to present the picture with the hole, but first you just present diagram, and then the picture with the hole will be presented by itself.
Yeah.
Right? Surely fair doesn't bind your tongue now. It's a little late for that.
Of course I'm afraid. After all, naming her in this capacity is definitely going to make waves. A lot of waves. I could very well turn every single person in this courtroom against me!
I'm sure we'll be alright, Mr. Naruhodo.
Thank you, Mrs. Settle.
The enemy always appears larger than life, but you'll appear exactly the same to the enemy.
Alright then, here goes.
You keep us waiting long enough. Your answer, counsel. Now.
The person who colluded with Mr. Drebber in order to carry out this wicked crime is Scotland Yard's coroner, Dr. Courtney Syfe.
What the blazes are you talking about, Dr. Sight? The head of forensic investigation team and the coroner who conducted the autopsy of the victim.
We know there were 2 bird cages, so who could have carried out the switch to complete the illusion? The accident happened in front of a huge crowd of spectators, and the area was immediately sealed off. Then everyone, police officers included, were banished to make way for the forensic investigation team. Actually, when you look at it like that, they are kind of suspicious, aren't they? Ha! Like, in hindsight.
Yeah, right?
Like, you cannot touch the crime scene, even though you're a policeman who do this every day. Fuck you. My turn. And then they just throw everyone out? Okay. When else could the switch have occurred? It can only have been in that team's presence. Oh shit, we got him. It's essential that the court determines exactly what happened following the incident. The defense demands that Dr. Syfe be summoned to the witness stand at once to testify. Magician Man is entirely unfazed. It's just vibe.
Oh, you got him there, lad. Standing out there, dragging the yard name through the mud. Pew pew, pow, you're dead.
I didn't mean to...
You're under arrest. I know the woman very well. There's no better dead room worker out there.
Dead room worker?
How dare you call her a criminal?
Dead room worker? That's one thing. That's one thing to call someone.
Cora. My lantern imagination appears to be wilder than the East End at night.
I see why they rebranded to coroner. For sure.
Yeah, dead room freaking.
Dead room worker.
Jesus, read the dead room. The recklessness of your accusation aside, there's another grave problem with your argument. One which the prosecution demands you address at once. Chop chop.
A grave problem.
Oh my word!
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo, there might be a dead room right here, right now. Who do you claim acted as the victim doppelganger?
Oh, I know already. Oh. Gee.
Certainly the birdcage containing the body of the victim was exchanged for another.
I hate when I do that.
What did you do?
I only have to like slightly touch my scroller thing and it just... What? Like, you know that?
Don't touch the scroller. Leave your finger out of it. The case must have also contained a body. And yet, no missing person or accidental deaths of anyone have been remotely resembling the victim have been reported. Which means there was no one, dead or alive, who could have fulfilled the role of a body double for Mr. Asman.
That's true. No, it's not. Shut the fuck up, you.
Wow. Wow. What aggression there. Okay.
If my argument is
No,
that there were
really.
two birds, it's just he just doesn't see it. He has to be stupid for my sake.
Oh my god.
He has to be stupid so that I can feel smart.
Okay, Mina, I'm just going to say something, okay?
Yes.
Compared to Phoenix, he's so much smarter.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Like
Phoenix
went
is
into the
bumbling.
courtroom like, what the fuck?
The Phoenix tactic is like arrive, know nothing, bumble, throw random evidence at everything. Sometimes, somehow it works out. It's the most ridiculous case ever. You win.
Fair.
Yeah.
If my argument is that there were two bird cages, then there must also have been one person inside each. But I don't know if I've got an answer to this yet, have I? Okay,
Like,
can
do
you
you
reveal
remember
how
that-
this body's double stun was achieved? Evidence!
Remember when they added the system when Phoenix is thinking and you need to connect dots, have A, B answers, and you're like...
He used the murder weapon! I still remember that.
Oh my god.
People die when they're dead. Anyway, very well, the defense will address my learned friend's concern by presenting evidence that reveals the true nature of Mr. Asman's body double. I guess it's the glass, because we don't have the like Rax figure itself in our evidence, right?
Back, straight, back. Good gracious, evidence.
Oh my god.
Evidence.
I'm sorry, there's some smudges on my keyboard and it's annoying me.
I do hope this isn't flipper requesting console. The court is expecting on you. Stop doing a voice, my lord. If you think you have relevant evidence, present it now.
The body double and the birdcage were hiding inside the balloon that was floating above the stage, which means
A
that
balloon?
any witnesses would only have seen them from 60 feet away. So who was it that appeared out of that explosion some 18 meters above the spectators? Aha! The body double inside the second birdcage was... Let me see. Okay, so it's either this or this.
What? Why is this?
Well, because it was the... Oh, I guess it's this then.
What the hell are you talking about? Like...
Do we not have the... Do we have the whole... No, we don't.
The what?
I mean, the body double was the waxwork, right?
Yeah.
So am I gonna present this?
Do you have any other part of it?
No. I have Andrew.
The body double inside the birdcage was just random piece of glass.
Here you go.
My god.
Okay. Guess I'm gonna present this. We know that
Oh,
the victim,
God.
Mr. Asman, was in the birdcage that was situated inside the kinesis machine on stage. Also, by the way, what a significant one to steal. Couldn't you just have stolen the fucking... Oh my god. Why is...
I mean,
Of all the things you could
Mina.
steal! Yes?
Mina, maybe there was a reason.
No.
What do you mean no?
No. We
What
know
do you
that...
mean no?
We know the victim, Mr. Asman, was in the birdcage that was situated inside the kinesis machine on stage. And therefore, he couldn't have been inside the second birdcage. Instead, that contains something else. What's been described as a body double, which is what fell from the sky and crashed into the crystal tower.
Yes, Counsel, according to your somewhat elaborate version of events.
And that body double inside the second birdcage was in fact...
Me all along.
It's all right, Mr. Naruhodo. You're ready for this. Steel yourself and come up with it.
Susato is like supporting you, and you're just going to throw some random stupid shit, and it's like, oh.
Thank you, Mrs. Subtle. I needed that. As I was saying, the body double inside the second birdcage was as unbelievable as it may seem. That thing there! Why is it just in the corner?
When did it arrive?
When did
suddenly
this get in the corner? He's just like, can you wheel in the coffin?
I almost want you to rewind 5 minutes and be like, what the hell is going on here? Bob? Why are they freaking wheeling their freaking...
You just see Bob like slowly hiding a trolley behind himself.
Yeah.
Why is it just...
How sudden it is,
you know? Who? When? Why?
And why is it here?
It wasn't here before!
I know, but why is it here at all? Like...
I know, right? Why is it? Why is it? Who put it there? Herlock? Was it you? It definitely was him.
It looks just like just leaving it here. Open your eyes and look into mine, my Nipponese friend.
That's a funny animation.
You're going to die. Now tell me. What the fuck?
Who put it here?
Whom's the fuck?
Oh my god.
What are you playing at? Do you like games?
Stand firm now, Ryunosuke. This is the time to show your Japanese spirit. As the court will observe, this is a waxwork model. The model...
The weak slap is back. The weak slap is back.
A model, in fact, of an infamous London murderer from 10 years ago. The Professor.
The Professor is the defendant in this case. You started by indicating the leader of forensics investigation team as an accomplice in this crime. And now you moved on to indicating waxworks. Okay, so this exact part, going into accomplice and then throwing the freaking waxwork, is exactly the thing that happens with Phoenix, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's about the size of it.
But why? And why this waxwork? Don't you have other waxworks? Maybe Drebber waxwork? It looks nothing like the victim, in fact. It could hardly resemble him less. What possible justification can you give? And Bob?
If you want to know why, ask Mr. Drebber. Yeah.
Dripper?
If anyone knows the reason, it would be him.
The person who stole it?
Yeah.
What?
Just days before Professor Hairbrain performed his public demonstration, Mr. Drebber abducted this model from Madame Tuspel's.
Did you say abducted? It was wax snapped.
And 2 days after the incident at the Great Exhibition,
he
returned it to the museum, albeit without a head.
Then the timing. Is this true, Mr. Drebber?
At first I couldn't see why Mr. Drebber would have stolen the waxwork and then given it back again. But now, the reason is clear. He took it so that he could put it inside the second birdcage, as a body double for Mr. Ashman.
Are you hearing this, ladies and gents of the jury? Are you hearing the defense's astonishing proposal? Yeah. That the witness fabricated this vast machine with the intention of deceiving some wretched scientist. Then he did so in collusion with the country finest coroner on public stage in front of the vast audience. And that to effect the deception, he used a waxwork model that in no way resembles the victim. Are we really to believe this far-fetched tale? What do you decide? Like, yeah, looking at it from the perspective of neutrality, this looks ridiculous.
Wait! Yes,
No.
if you put it like that, of course it sounds implausible. My lord!
My lord,
That's him.
I need to speak if you please. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Miss F and my colleagues have reached an agreement.
Oh wow! We're gonna do a similar.
As a patient with alienation. Very good in that case. Ladies and gents of the jury, you will state your learnings to the court to hear now, live. Usually.
No! Don't put that thing near the fire! Okay.
Popcorn.
Popcorn! Yeah.
That's fair. That's really fair. Like. So, indicated by the foreman, jury has reached a consensus.
I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, you
We should
propose
consider
a
this, Mr.
ridiculous
Naruhodo,
theory.
as we always do. And uncover some new truths along the way, I'm quite sure.
But are you sure?
Yes, I agree. I'm gonna have to appeal to jurors as usual and see if I can persuade them to change their minds.
The defense will now embark on summation examination. Are you and your fellows ready to proceed, Mr. Foreman? We are, my lord. Very well. In that case, I ask you now to state clearly for our present to hear the grounds on which each of you had decided that the defendant is guilty of the crime on which he is charged.
What a perfect timing to end
Yep.
things!
Yeah, there won't be a better place.
Yeah, and we're just about at 3 hours, so the jurors'
Yeah,
contentions.
basically.
How nice. That was not what I wanted to do. No!
Third time the charm? Yeah, okay.
Fuck me! Anyway. Yeah, that was a good week, for sure. I'm sure. I know. I'm good.
Uh-huh.
I did good. I didn't make any mistakes. I never do. Perfect.
No, you don't do
No.
mistakes. Never.
Can't make mistakes. Can't. No. Yeah. So next week, more judgment, more this. Until we finish. Until I fucking die. I'm kidding. Yeah. It's been really fun. Not this coming week, but the week after. I'm gonna have to take the weekend off again because 2 conventions just have to be back to back. Of course they do.
The mood.
Like at least they aren't a week apart. That was what happened the one year I went to NerdCon Summer because that was in Sweden, and then the week I think it was like one, and then the other Danish con Genki, they were like a week apart. I mean, at least it wasn't during summer vacation, but still.
True.
But yeah, because of that, I will have to take that weekend off, the second weekend of November. I hope that's okay. And then after that, we will be back to regular scheduled programming. So I will see you guys on Tuesday for some more judgment. Goodbye. Oyasemina.
Yes, Mina.